Donald Trump has sent a letter to Canada threatening a new tariff rate of 35% starting August 1st.
Donald Trump says he'll impose 30% tariffs on imports from the EU and Mexico starting next month.
In the swirling vortex of American politics, where bold proclamations often collide with the harsh realities of global economics, few moves have ignited as much fire as Donald Trump's recent tariff threats. As we sit here on the cusp of August 1st, 2025, the former and now current president has once again wielded the tariff sword, this time slashing at some of America's closest allies. In a letter dispatched to Ottawa with the precision of a political missile, Trump has warned of a staggering 35% tariff on all Canadian imports, set to take effect in mere days. The markets, those ever-sensitive barometers of economic sentiment, didn't wait for the ink to dry. In a breathtaking 48-hour span, Wall Street witnessed the evaporation of $2 trillion in value, primarily from the so-called Magnificent Seven tech titans, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, and their ilk, that had long propped up the bull run. These companies, once seen as invincible fortresses in the digital age, crumpled like tinfoil under the weight of uncertainty. Reuters captured the moment in real time. A midnight tariff blitz that promises to slap a 35% surcharge on every scrap of Canadian steel, every engine block from Ontario, and threatens to erect a 30% wall against avocados from Mexico and machinery from the EU. Europe, never one to back down from a transatlantic tussle, fired back with unyielding resolve. Airbus, the continent's aerospace behemoth, dangled a tantalizing threat. A $43 billion order for Boeing jets hanging in the balance, ready to be torched if the tariffs ignite. It's a high-stakes game of chicken, with Brussels waving a match over the deal and daring the White House to blink. Meanwhile, Canada and Mexico, sensing the noose tightening, aren't waiting for diplomatic miracles. They've greenlit a monumental $120 billion project, the Northern Corridor, a rail and port network designed to sidestep U.S. customs entirely, funneling goods from Prince Rupert's Pacific megaport straight to a new Gulf terminal outside Tampico. This isn't some pie-in-the-sky fantasy. It's a bolted-together lifeline, leveraging the freshly merged CPKC rail spine and cutting-edge blockchain custom systems that clear containers in minutes, not days. Imagine the sheer audacity of it. A steel artery stretching from sea to shining sea, bypassing American soil and siphoning off billions in cargo that once traversed U.S. highways and harbors. According to the Bureau of Transportation Statistics, Canada-Mexico freight hit a record $144.8 billion in a single month earlier this year, the highest ever recorded. If even half of that shifts to this new corridor, we're talking about more than $70 billion vanishing from U.S. customs ledgers monthly. That's a figure that could eclipse Alaska's entire annual GDP before the leaves turn in autumn. It's not just numbers on a spreadsheet, it's a gut punch to Midwest assembly lines, where workers in Detroit and Chicago have long relied on the steady flow of cross-border parts. Gulf Coast cranes would idle, Seattle's aerospace payrolls would shrink, and the ripple effects would cascade through communities that have already weathered too many economic storms. As a political commentator who spent 2 decades dissecting the intricacies of Washington's power plays, I can tell you this. Tariffs have always been a double-edged sword in American politics. They hark back to the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930, which exacerbated the Great Depression by sparking retaliatory measures worldwide. Trump's approach echoes that era but with a modern twist, aiming to protect domestic industries like steel and autos from what he calls unfair competition. Yet, in today's hyper-connected global economy, such isolationist tactics risk isolating the U.S. itself. The Northern Corridor isn't merely a logistical workaround, it's a geopolitical statement. Let's map this out in more detail, because understanding the geography here is key to grasping the stakes. Prince Rupert, nestled on Canada's rugged Pacific coast, isn't your average port, it's a strategic gem, closer to Asian markets by 500 nautical miles than any U.S. West Coast rival. That shaves up to 60 hours off sailing times, reducing fuel costs and carbon footprints in one fell swoop. From there, the CPKC rail line snakes southward, merging with former Kansas City's southern tracks to reach the Gulf. Trial runs by logistics giants like Schneider have already proven the efficiency. What used to be a 7-day slog from Mexico to Chicago now clocks in at 4 days. Add in Canada's border tech innovations, a single window system and blockchain pilots that slash paperwork from 3 days to 4 hours, and you've got a corridor that's not just faster, but smarter. Politically, the fuse is lit and burning fast. Just weeks ago on July 16th, Reuters reported a pivotal call between Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum and Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney. The two leaders didn't mince words. They pledged to fast-track a bilateral trade accord, potentially signing it before New Year's Eve. Every kilometer of rail laid now cements a new supply chain habit. Insurers are rewriting risk tables, bond desks are shaving revenue forecasts for ports like Long Beach, and suppliers in Detroit are left wondering how to compete when their competitors suddenly ride a tariff-free rail to Veracruz. This isn't abstract policy anymore. Concrete is pouring in Prince Rupert. Rebar is bending in Manitoba, and each development chips away at America's tariff shield. The countdown to August 1st feels almost cinematic, a thriller where the stakes are trillions and the players are nations. On July 10th, Trump signed the executive order imposing the 35% tariff on Canadian goods, effective at dawn on the 1st. Barely 48 hours later, he escalated with threats against Mexico, demanding concessions or facing a 30% hit across the board. The paperwork is exhaustive, targeting everything from steel slabs and rolled coils to engine blocks and transmissions, with sectoral duties layering on top, 50% on raw metals, 25% on finished autos. Ottawa decried it as economic blackmail, Mexico City as a throwback to colonial overreach. Markets, ever the skeptics, initially bet on a White House blink, but currency fluctuations told a different tale. The Canadian loonie dipped 0.25% in hours, its worst slide in a month, as traders fled northern exposure. By Monday, the Mexican peso had weakened nearly 0.5%, hinting at braced investors anticipating higher import bills. These shifts might seem minor in isolation, but in the trillion-dollar foreign exchange arena, they equate to billions in eroded purchasing power. Factories quoting in dollars suddenly face steeper costs for U.S. machinery, chips, and soybeans, fueling the inflation Trump has vowed to tame. Supply chain managers are scrambling, rerouting shipments because a gearbox dodging a 35% tariff means the difference between solvency and shutdown. The longer this drags, the more permanent the detours become. Banks from Toronto to Monterey are modeling recession scenarios. Lobbyists are besieging Capitol Hill with pleas. Yet the administration insists tariffs are the only language allies understand. They're banking on a last-minute deal, a face-saving concession before trucks hit the border. But August 1st is immutable, and machines in Windsor and Puebla don't pause for politics. If no one yields, a single customs line could unleash a wave drowning economies already flirting with recession. Reflecting on my years covering Capitol Hill intrigues, from NAFTA's birth to the USMCA's tweaks, this moment feels pivotal. Trump's tariffs aim to revive manufacturing, echoing Rust Belt pleas, but risk alienating allies and accelerating deglobalization. The Northern Corridor symbolizes resilience, a reminder that no nation monopolizes trade. As factories hum and rails gleam, the question lingers. Will America adapt, negotiating smarter deals? Or cling to isolation, getting bypassed? The $120 billion bypass train is loading, carrying trade's future, and it won't halt for customs. In this high-wire act of politics and economics, the outcome will shape not just trade, but the very fabric of American power for years to come.